Friends, good morning. I am Venkat. My wife Vijaya and I are the managing trustees of a very small public charitable trust by name Swabhiman. Swabhiman, from its inception in the year 2000, has been working comprehensively in and around the slums of Rajendra Nagara, that's opposite the National Games village in Koramangala. The trust, for the last 17 or 18 years, runs a fairly large educational scholarship that supports about 200 children each year with scholarships. We also work with very low-end English medium schools by providing these schools with teachers, teacher training, infrastructural support, so on and so forth. We run a couple of clinics where just for 10 rupees, about 70 to 80 patients each day get both consultation and medication. The trust runs a fairly large interest-free microfinance activity where women in the community are lent small amounts of money to generate income from home and supplement their men's income. The trust also runs a very large computer center in the community to help the slum kids be computer literate. We also run a women empowerment program where women stitch cloth bags for me. 25 such women earn their livelihoods through this program. There is a unit that works for the physically challenged, and that unit provides employment to about 15 to 20 physically challenged youth who make newspaper bags and brown paper bags, and we sell and generate funds out of them. In that slum, there are extremely poor families, in many instances where the women have been left alone by their men to fend for with their children, senior citizens with nobody to take care. For 500 such families, each month the trust provides them with 500 rupees worth of grocery, rice, dal, atta, wheat, sugar and oil. The idea is to make sure that nobody starves in the community. But for the last 5 or 6 years, in that very slum and across a few other slums in Bangalore, each day in the evening, we serve 1,500 people with cooked meals. This is a massive task, but this has been going on for a year. But friends, this is not why I'm here. I'm here to talk to you about the power of having to say yes each time and every time. I want to tell you all a story. Sometime in the year 2012-13, I saw a large number of school dropout kids in the community very aimlessly and listlessly going around their lives. I believed that then I could get them all together, get them to learn discipline, values, professionalism, and some amount of soft skills so that they could be employable. So I got initially a team of 6 or 8 boys together with me and started working with them. Around that time, one of the largest and the most popular 10K runs in Bangalore approached me saying that on the next Sunday, which was the day of the run, after the marathon runners had finished the run, they had signed up for 20,000 runners, and the management thought that only 18,000 of those runners after the run may have breakfast. So they were sure that they would be left with 2,000 breakfasts, and they wanted us to collect the food from the Kantirava Stadium, bring it into the slum, and serve it to the poor people. Around the time, we had just started serving meals to the very hungry and the needy in the community, but we were doing 100 meals a day. When I was told about 2,000 meals, I was simply not ready to handle it. All my working life, I've been taught and trained to say no when I see an insurmountable situation in front. It makes sense for you to say no than to take on something that you're sure to fail in. So I was about to say no to the management of the 10K run, at which time the boys that I was dealing with, one of them, the leader of their pack, a boy by name Suleiman, gets up and says, "Saab, ye to hum karenge. Ye koi mushkil kaam nahi hai, bahut aasani se kar lenge." I said, "Suleiman, you must be crazy. We can't deal with 2,000 meals. Do you know 2,000 meals is actually like serving food for 2 weddings? It's simply huge. We have no experience, we can't do it." But the boys kept insisting. All 8 of them said, "We will do it." and hence very, very grudgingly I accepted to do it. So on the day of the run, at 10 o'clock in the morning, after the runners have finished their breakfast and gone, we enter Kantirava Stadium with one truck, thinking that we will load the truck with food and take it into the community and feed 2,000 people. Friends, we had no experience in feeding 2,000 people, so it was going to be a difficult task as such. But when I went into the stadium, what do I see? There was food for 6,000 people. As many runners had not had their breakfast. And I knew that I had made a blunder. This was a huge mistake. I should not have given in to my boys' insistence. But when I looked at my boys, they were not very flustered. Quickly, my boys picked up phones and started calling. In the next 1 hour, what do I see? There are 3 more trucks waiting alongside the one truck that we had asked for, which meant that my boys had connections in the other slums that I didn't know of. They realized that the 6,000 meals could not be served in my slum, so very quickly, and I must tell you, these are all school dropout children who had no idea what to do with such major tasks. Very quickly, 4 trucks were arranged. By 12 o'clock, we had loaded 4 trucks with huge vessels laden with food. And the 4 trucks went into different slums. Between 12 and 3:30, we had served 6,000 meals in Bangalore. I had no idea that we could achieve it. And yet, these boys, whom I thought I was going to train, had made me a student. By the end of the day, we were all exhausted. The 10K marathon management came and congratulated my boys. So at the end of it all, I asked Suleiman, what drove you? Why did you take this up? There was a good chance that we could fail. Even more importantly, what was in it for you? And Suleiman tells me, and the others said so, sir, we will not let a grain of morsel go waste in Bangalore. If we can feed the last morsel to the poor person, we will do it. So that is what was driving them. So over a period of time, I knew that these kids were capable of much more. We slowly started building a bigger team. Around this time the next year, the same 10K marathon people came back to us. And they said that the next Sunday they had a similar event. They were sure that they were going to give us food because we were now capable of handling food. We were also confident that we could deal with 5, 6, 7,000 meals. But there was a new challenge that the management came up with. Just the previous week, the Karnataka government had banned the one-time use of plastic and flex in Karnataka, by which time the management of the 10K run had put across the Bangalore city 100,000 square feet of flex advertising the 10K run. But because they had put up the flex, the BBMP had asked them to carefully and very responsibly dispose the flex off as a one-time attempt. The next year, obviously, they would not be allowed to use flex. So when the management called us and said, we will give you the food, you can distribute it, but give us a solution as to what do you want to do with so much of flex. We don't know how to dispose it responsibly. 2 of my boys get up and साहब ये तो बहुत आसान काम है जितने रोड में गरीब लोग हैं उनके सबके घरों को हम छत बना देंगे. We will make roofs for the homeless. And this is not a solution that I am giving. This is a solution that these kids who have never been to school or school dropouts are giving. The 10K management was excited, but I was not. We could deal with food, but how do you deal with 100,000 square feet of flex? It's unimaginable. And we had to pull the frames down, cut the flex off the frames, fold them, bring it to a godown, and there was a new challenge that they had not initially told us. The advertisers of the events did not want their names visible on the roofs of these homes, shelterless homes. Obviously, they didn't want their advertisements to be badly seen. So they wanted us to glue the flex such that the outsides were plain and the advertisements were inside. So now we had to remove flex, bring them into a godown, glue 100,000 square feet of flex and then distribute it. I was not ready, but I had some faith in my boys by now. I believed that my boys may fail, but we will make an attempt. And hence I grudgingly agreed again. So this, the first time I had seen the power of yes, but I was not very sure that the power of yes would work this time. Early morning, 10 o'clock, between 10 and 2, we finish all the serving of meals and we come back triumphantly. At 4 o'clock when I come in, what do I see? That is the amount of flex. So if this gives you an idea, this is only a portion of the flex that's available on the stadium. Hundreds of steel frames with flex around them was available for us to rip off. I knew I had made a blunder this time. This was a task that we were definitely going to fail in. But my boys were not flustered again. Trust me, they had blades and knives in their hands. At 4 o'clock, they start cutting all the flex. Just about 16 to 18, by that time I had a slightly larger volunteer base, about 16 to 18 kids start cutting the flex. As luck would have it, that evening it rained in Bangalore and it poured. The flex got wet, my boys got wet. But yet, through the night, till the next day evening, till they had not ripped up all the flex, they did not leave Kantirava Stadium. We also had a time limit of 24 hours within which we had to do that. So the next evening, 100,000 square feet of flex is brought into a godown. The next early morning, my 20 boys and 10 women in the community joined them to start gluing it together. Within the next 7 to 8 days, parallelly, the flex was being glued and the flex was being delivered to homes across Bangalore on the streets. People were getting roofs for their shelterless homes in Bangalore. So in 10 days, we had achieved what I thought was impossible. So this was the second time in my life I saw the power of saying yes every time and each time. Now we had achieved something big. The 10K management people had trust in us. So the next year we continued doing the flex in Bangalore and the food also. And we were doing other big things, by which time now we were started serving 500 people meals each day, 1,000 people meals each day. We were picking up a lot of corporate event food and all that. And this team was doing a tremendous job. Last year or the year before that, the same management of the 10K run call up from Delhi. So they have runs not only in Bangalore, in Delhi, in Calcutta and Bombay. But they called up from Delhi in 2016, I think, and said, we don't have a local partner to deal with in Flex. Can you deal with it in Delhi? And my boys were excited. They wanted to go to Delhi. And I said, Suleiman, you're not doing it. We can do it in Bangalore because we know Bangalore. And I have 25 volunteers with me. How do I fly 25 volunteers into Bangalore? It's not possible. But two boys, Suleiman and there is a second boy by name Ganeshmani. He gets up, he's a physically challenged boy. He gets up and saab, हम तो इसको करेंगे, ये बहुत आसान है. जो काम हम बैंगलोर में कर सकते हैं, वो हम दिल्ली में भी करके दिखाएंगे. So the next one day before the event, Suleiman and Ganeshmani, for the first time in their lives, they take a flight to Delhi. They land in Delhi, they get into the stadium in a city where they know no one, and they see similar amount of flex, almost 100,000 square feet of flex in Delhi again. You know what my boys do? Before the evening, before the flex is handed out to them, they have gone into the slums in the neighborhood, gathered 25 youth, trained them how to cut the flex, and they started cutting. So in Delhi, exactly in 10 days, they finished all that we do every year in Bangalore. That was extraordinary. I now realize for the third time that I was wrong and my boys were right. And why were they right? Because they had each time said yes to a problem, and I was each time saying no to a problem. So I was learning from them. I started off being a teacher to them, and in just 3 or 4 years, these 8 or 10 illiterate boys were teaching me things. I had become a student. That was happening well. Last year, we had another challenge. Again from the 10K management, this time they call us from Calcutta. So they said, again, we have no partners in Calcutta. Will you be able to deal with in Calcutta? And I was sure we will deal with Calcutta Flex, because we had 3 years of experience of doing it in Bangalore, 2 years in Delhi now. Calcutta is something very similar. We will deal with it. So I agreed. This time, that very boy Suleiman, the leader of the team, again gets up and says, "Saab, main is baar akele jaunga." हम फ्लाइट का खर्चा क्यों करेंगे, इतना पैसा बेकार क्यों करेंगे, मैं अकेले जाऊंगा. I said, Suleiman, no way. You will have to take somebody along, if not Ganesh Mani, somebody else who can at least hold fort when you're running around in Calcutta. He says, nahi sahab, main akele karunga, mere ko akele karne ko chhod do. And the rest of the boys agreed. So Suleiman travels to Calcutta alone to execute the job which is actually meant for 15 and 20 people. He goes to Calcutta, he starts the work, but on the second day, the management of the 10K run in Calcutta called me up in Bangalore and say, Venkat, we want a good portion of the flex to be distributed as roofs for the homeless, but 25% of the flex, we want you to convert them into shopping bags in Calcutta. How do you convert shopping bags of flex in Calcutta? So I told them, we can't do it. They said, no, we've committed, so you have to take it up. So I quickly called up Suleiman. मैंने बोला, सुलेमान एक नया प्रॉब्लम है हमारे लिए, कैसे करोगे आप? साहब कर लेंगे ना, इसमें क्या बड़ी बात है? मैंने बोला, सुलेमान आप दिल्ली कलकत्ता में टेलर्स ढूंढोगे कहाँ से? Where will you get so many tailors to stitch 2,000, 2,500 shopping bags out of flex and all in 7 days time? साहब आप आराम से रहो, मैं कर लूँगा. But I had faith in Suleiman by this time, because I had seen the power of the man's yes each time, and the power of the entire team that I was working with. The same evening, he gets into the external, outer limits of Calcutta. He finds a group of family, 4 or 5 families who are tailors who stitch. And he lends them this contract of stitching flex bags. I didn't know where he found out these people from. He did not know a soul in Calcutta. He can't speak Bengali, but he made it possible. In 10 days' time, he delivered all the flex to the shelterless. He made 2,500 bags and handed it over to the 10K management and came back to Bangalore. So we celebrated all this, and we are extremely happy that the team that I now have can do anything that's possible. And friends, it is all because of the power of saying yes each time and every time. This has nothing to do with education. If you believe that something can be done, I suppose something in you makes you do it. So a lot of you are students and teachers here. I will request you to please take this message back to every student that teachers interact with. If you can make your students believe that you must say yes to every single seemingly insurmountable problem, I am sure the student would succeed. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity.